Alright, hey, it's Mega here, and like I mentioned, we're gonna do our second charge experiment with Alta Redshift SM39 with the fans, okay? So like I said, my theory was if you keep the bike cool, it will charge faster. So apparently the cooling system on the Redshift isn't enough to maintain like a fast charge. It gets too hot, so it limits the charge. So if we keep the bike cool, then it can, but of course, it's like 80 something degrees out right now. It's freaking summer, so I don't know, we'll see. So we've got the two fans here. I've got the Vornado fan. I'm gonna go turn it on right now, all right? We'll put this at in the middle or something. Now let's turn it up. Turn it up all the way. There we go. Okay, so that's that fan is pointing on that side of the bike, and then we've got this thingy right here, okay? And these are hooked up to the, like I mentioned in a previous video, these are hooked up to the house's power, okay? And then we're gonna go plug the Redshift in, okay? And the Redshift has like 5% charge. I was able to run it down a lot today, guys. I was having too much fun with it doing DoorDash, so. So that's the scoop. I did DoorDash, and the charge is really low now. So we're gonna see if we can charge it back up, and we'll see how long it'll take, all right? And how much power consumption. Let me go to the other side. So it's charging right now. Okay, you can see there that it's pretty low on charge, all right? Yeah, it was like blinking at me. It's like, that's like 5% charge in the battery, okay? So it's charging right now. And then so my inverter will keep track of how much power consumption this thing is pulling, okay? And then we'll find out how much. Alright, but yeah, so let's make sure this air is blowing in the right places. Maybe I might want to move that back a little bit, but this one seems fine. Okay, so I'm trying to blow air over the battery and blow air over the radiator, alright, or the bulkhead, alright, is what they call it. Okay, and then yeah, we'll just, I will let it run until it's fully charged, and then we'll see how long it takes. And how much power it was, the rate of charge, all right? We're looking at rate of charge and how long it takes to charge it, okay? All right, here's we go. See you guys when it's done charging. My guess, a full charge should take like 6 hours, 5-6 hours, all right? So you see you guys in like 5 or 6 hours. And we will wait till it's fully charged. When the screen fully turns off, that means it's fully charged, okay? All right, here's we go. Alright, here's Mega here, and it looks like the Redshift is done charging. Alright, I'm gonna go unplug it, and then I gotta go do some work, so I'll just shut off all these fans and stuff, and it looks like my theory is right. If you can keep the bike cool, it will charge faster, okay? Yeah, this doesn't get hot at all. Anyway, let's pull it, and we'll see. Let's pull the charge cable. We'll see. Okay, there you go, full charge. All right, in the next clip, when I get back, I will we'll go over the charge curve. All right, we'll go up into my office and we'll check the charge data out. All right, the power consumption. All right, here's me out. All right, here's me here. We're up in my office and we're gonna go check the power consumption out. All right, let's go. Okay, my apologies. From the last clip to this clip is like one day. Well, it's the next day, so it's not here anymore. We have to look at the day before. All right, but as you can see, my solar panels are collecting power. They're making power. All right. Okay, so here's yesterday's power or load consumption diagram. All right, or it's called an energy trend according to the Growatt. So this blue here is the solar power. We got a good amount of solar power yesterday, about 14 kilowatts. And then this is my RAV4, so don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to this, alright? So this is when I plugged in the Redshift, alright? And let's see, it looks like we plugged it in at 245 or 1445, guys. Okay, and it looks like for the most part let's just say there's like a 100-watt load, all right, because I think that's my refrigerator. So there is something else plugged in. So just subtract 100 watts from whatever we're getting. All right. And then so this is me plugging the Redshift in, and then we have the fans running already. Okay. So we want to look at load consumption here. All right. Load consumption is 1500 watts. All right. So let's say like that's 1400 watts with the refrigerator running. But for most part, let's just call that 1500 watts. All right. And as you can see here, the curve is flat, pretty good. All right. It dips down to 1400 a little bit. Yeah, it starts at 1500 and then it drops just a little bit. All right. And from what I remember, it'll start at like 1500 and then it'll just drop right away to like 900 watts. Okay, but it stays at 1400 pretty much the whole time. Oh damn it, when this updates it goes to the next. Okay, yeah, and then yeah, so it's pretty flat until it gets to here. Okay, so let's say this is what's called a bulk charge. Okay, it's just trying to dump as much power into the battery as possible, fill it back up. All right, remember the battery was pretty much fully discharged almost. Let's see, so 245 to 1925, what is that? Let me do the math. Okay guys, that's 4 hours. All right, so it took 4 hours to bulk charge the battery. All right, and then you can see that's pretty fast. And you can see the curve starting to drop a whole lot here. Okay, so it's starting to taper off the charge. So that tells me that the battery is pretty much, it's done bulk charging, and then now it's just topping it off, right? And it's probably doing like a top balance or something. Okay. And then so the remainder of the time, the current just keeps on dropping, all right, until it gets to about 500 watts, 500, 400 watts. All right, and then it drops, and then it just shuts off. Because if you remember correctly, I think this is my refrigerator running here. Okay, but it might be top balancing it at this point. Okay, but so I would say it's pretty much the majority of the charging is done at this time. All right, so 20:35. So we add an extra hour and a half. So it took an hour. Yeah, it took 1900, 1920 to 2035. Yeah. It took roughly an hour to top off the battery. All right. All it's doing is like trickle charging now. Okay. And you can see it drops pretty steeply. All right, like it dropped like off a cliff almost. So typically that's not how the charge curve looks. Well, let's go see if we can find something else. So that's yesterday's experiment. Okay, yeah. So this is the Redshift right here. See, so this is without the fan, but I think this might have been before we updated the firmware. Let me see. When did we update the firmware? No, yeah, this is after we updated the firmware. So here it starts at 1100 watts, and then it drops right away to like about 900, and then when it's fully charged, it drops off, or it's trying to top it off. So it's almost the same, but you've got it peaks and then it drops a lot, and then it keeps on going, and then when it's fully charged, when it's close to fully charged, it starts that top off mode. Okay, well, versus this curve, all right, notice it's much longer too. All right, so it took 4 hours to bulk charge it, and then about an hour to top it off. So it took about 5 hours to charge it. That's pretty fast. All right, because we were charging at 1400 watts. that charger is the charger is rated for 1.1 kilowatt hours. So I don't know, man. Oh damn it! It updated again. Yeah, that charger is rated for 1.1 kilowatts from what I heard. So we're actually pulling more than 1.1 kilowatts. So there you go. So that was the purpose of the experiment, to see how long it will take to charge a fully discharged battery. In this video, all right, the battery was pretty much fully discharged. There was about 5% charge left, 5 or 10%, something like that. All right, I didn't want to push the bike back, so I didn't drain it all the way, guys. And I was getting close though. But yeah, so this red curve here, all right, it's not really a curve, all right. We plugged it in, it bulk charged, all right. It went from 1400 watts to 1300 watts, all right. Let's just say 1400 watts average. It didn't really drop off all that much, but just like the other one, yeah, it charges really high, maybe about 1400 watts, and then it dropped to 1300 watts, and it kept on charging, all right. But it was charging much faster than it did before, okay. And that's because we didn't have the fans on it, all right. We had the fans cooling the bike down while it's keeping the bike cool while it's charging. It allows it to charge faster, okay. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the Redshift's cooling system, all right, the cooling system, it uses the bike's cooling system to cool the inverter down, all right, or the charger, and the cooling system itself, okay, the water cooling system is not good enough to keep the bike cool during charging. So what it does is it lowers the charge current down, all right. But in this case, it didn't do that because we had the fans on it, all right. So if you want your Redshift to charge faster, all right, I guess maybe when we're at the racetrack, I have these fans, so it would be a good idea to put some fans on. Now, I guess if it's cold weather out, maybe it will charge faster too. So that makes me wonder: is there heaters in the battery too for when it's really cold? Not sure. Okay. And then yeah, so at this higher rate of charge, it takes 5 hours. It takes 6 hours to fully charge the battery. Okay, so from here to here is about 6 hours. All right. Pretty cool. Okay, and there we have it. End of experiment. So yeah, like I said, what did we learn? We learned that the bike's cooling system for the charging system, it is not enough to maintain a fast charge on it, or its full potential. So let's say while it's charging. All right, it needs something to help it cool it off more. So so the Hades Mega, I know this. One thing I noticed about the Redshift is it's really quiet when it charges because it's just running the water pump, right? I used to have a Victory Impulse TT, and it had a I forget. I think it's a Eltec Valare or something like that. It had a pretty good charger on it. All right, it had a charger that could charge at 3.3 kilowatts. All right, if you plugged it into a EVSE, all right, level 2 EVSE, and when it was charging, you could hear the cooling fans for the chargers turn on, and it was really loud. Okay, it sounded like a server room, right? Because they use these small fans that spin at really high RPM. Well, but it doesn't use a water cooling to cool the inverter or the charger. Okay, so they went the opposite route with the Impulse. They just use a cooling fan to cool the charger, right? Which is perfectly fine. It works great, you know. But if something happens to the fan, then yeah, it's gonna suck. It's gonna get hot, all right. And I'd imagine it'd probably taper off the charge like that too. Okay, but the Redshift only relies on the water cooling system, all right, for the motor and everything, and so it also cools the inverter down too. So that's pretty cool. Since it's not enough to keep it cool, because it's just a water pump circulating water. It's not it doesn't have a fan to cool it. All right, so for the most part,
is there's no fan. There's no fan on the Redshift, so if the bike isn't moving, it's not cooling at optimum efficiency. Okay, when you're moving, then yeah, you've got that airflow over the bulkhead, and it's wicking the hot air or the heat out of the bulkhead, all right, and cooling the coolant, all right. But if the bike isn't moving, like when it's charging, it doesn't keep the bike, it's not keeping the charger as cool as possible, all right. And then that's why the charge curve just it dips a little bit, right? It dips a lot. It goes from like yeah, it went from like 1400 watts. Before it was like I think it started at 14 and then it dropped right away to like 900. That's a lot. You lose like 200, 300 watts of charging just because it's hot, you know. So okay, yep. So there we go. That's the results of my charge experiment. All right. Thanks for watching. Here's a big out.